Welcome everyone to the Voice of the Terminus show. We are back. Say hello, Yay! Josh.
Yeah. Hello.
Say hello, Lex.
Yay.
Say hello, Shy. Okay. And we have Booch with us.
Like, to hell with you.
Yep, to hell with us. So it's been, what, 6 months? We've been on break for 6 months. That's how long it's been.
By break, you mean you broke something?
Yeah, yes. well, I didn't break something. It was broken from the start. Well, we finally got the issues sorted out. The guild came together and helped me out, and now we're back in business. So it's good to be back. It's been a while, and Booch was kind enough to reach out and give us an idea for a nice show to kind of ease us in. But before we get into all of what we're going to be doing today, a heads up on how we will be progressing for the future. The VOT show will be streaming once a month. Basically, every first Saturday of each month, we will be doing our show. That's a fixed date or stream that we will be doing. Player Q&As will happen sporadically as they come together. We will also be doing some gaming streams in between, but they will not be on a regular basis or anything like that. But this show that we're doing now, this will be basically streamed out once a month, basically at the beginning, the first Saturday, and we'll basically go over the streams from VR. We'll have guests on. We'll do the typical shebang that we normally do. But that's what we're doing for now. Obviously with things kind of quiet, and we've talked about basically everything we possibly can. So we're waiting for new information to come out that is actually worth discussing. Enough with the speculation and theory crafting. It's now just a matter of waiting to see, how the game progresses, and then basically, we'll provide content. So yeah, that's it. And today's show, we're going to look at the recent stream from VR, where they've basically talked about the upcoming Shakeout that basically happens this weekend with the VIPs out there. And we're going to look at the website, and then after we've done that, we're going to go and talk about MMOs in general and why people are fascinated by them. What draws us to them, and what makes us forget everything around us in real life and everything when we're in these games and playing them. So let's go and have a look at the website first, shall we? So VR basically released a new website. They basically remodeled it and gave it a new facelift and everything. It's still pretty much in stages. It's not complete yet. There's a lot of stuff still going to be added into it as it goes along. But this is the new site that they have. And I wanted to ask what your guys' first thoughts are on the website. We'll start with you, Lex.
Being a web developer myself, I'm a bit of a snobby bastard when it comes to this kind of stuff. It does have much better flow. It kind of resembles the one-page websites that were real popular about 5-6 years ago. It's very obvious to me that it's made for mobile first, because it doesn't use the full extent of your screen, or at least it doesn't feel that way to me. But overall, I like it. The real challenge here is going to be if they can actually keep it up to date, because it doesn't matter how good it looks. If the information is 4 years old, it's still garbage.
Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I think it's a step forward for them. But who knows if they'll go back to the old website and mess things up at the end of the day. But yeah, otherwise it's looking pretty good. I think the flow is good, as Lex says, and yeah, I think it's more user friendly.
And Booch, what's your first thought on the site, dude?
I think it's a win. Visually, it's nicer looking than the old site, and I think they were smart enough to keep it the way you navigate it pretty close to the old one. So you really didn't have a learning curve. You could just kind of like see what you had to do and click, So they kept it simple enough. But like Lex said, if the key is keeping it, up to date, that's the biggest thing. Because like you said, what good is it if it's 4 years old information?
Yeah. Yeah. So they basically got the overview where they give you the general information, their key features and everything. And you have the classes and the race at the bottom, or you can basically go up to the menu up here. They'll be adding in the lore later at a later stage. One of the first things that I noted was that the store wasn't up there, or a link to the store that they have, but that's coming in at a later date as well. You have a pledge. You have the pledge now button up top, where you can go to the pledges, where they're basically listed down here. Got plenty of buttons to basically click on, like VIP pledges. It will go straight to it, so forth. But I wanted to have a look at some of the media, because something popped out when my wife saw this. It was like super hyped. So I think it's in the concept art. So my wife played a Fae in EverQuest 2, and then this is an image I haven't seen yet. So it looks like something with wings. So my wife was like, super psyched when she saw this screenshot, and very interesting. You see that there's going to be some wings there, some winged fairies or something like that. But
personally, I hope that's a mob.
Well,
yeah.
I mean, the worst thing that can happen right now to Pantheon is they start shoehorning new races in.
Yep, definitely.
Like you don't have all the races.
But she's hopeful. She's hopeful that something with wings will make it in someday.
Wings, squeak.
I think it's just explosions coming off their backs.
Where did the music come from just now? Whoa. Something's like really loud at the moment, and I don't know what it is.
Is it in
your area?
No, I got the game music coming through somewhere.
Yeah, and the show music is coming through.
Huh?
What did you do?
What the hell is that?
It's Yarn. He broke something. He broke
What the hell is that?
It wouldn't be a VOT show if you didn't.
What the hell is that?
It's 6 months. Yarn no longer knows how to use OBS.
Nah, dude, no. I have no idea where this music's coming from. Lex, you got something turned on?
I don't.
Don't look at me. I've been on mute.
I have literally nothing running.
Check your OBS.
No, it's not on my end, dude.
And ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Voices of Terminus show.
Let me. Where the hell is this music coming from? Is it from the website? It's not from the website, is it?
Is this the longest setup for a punchline of a joke?
Yep, I know. It's like, what's going on? I don't know where this music's coming from.
I don't know what's going on.
It could be the website. Check your tabs. Is there a little speaker?
I just turned it off right now, right? So I just turned off the website. It was a freaking website for some unknown reason. Where the hell did that music come from? It wasn't on there last time.
They actually have the background music on
the
website.
They have the background music on it, and it's so freaking loud, dude.
That's kind of 1980s. That's like retro as hell.
Wow.
All we need now is like a page that's full of GIFs.
So where the hell did that freaking start? There wasn't even a warning. It just turned on. Wow.
The general rule of thumb when you're making websites that if you're going to have things like background music, you need to give people a way to mute it or pause it.
Yeah.
Because not everybody likes it. Maybe you're hunkered down with the missus or the girlfriend to watch a show, and you're like, "Hey, I'm going to go look at the website because this is a boring chick flick," and all of a sudden it's like, it's like, "Oh shit, I got caught." Come on now, be considerate.
Or did I accidentally click on frickin' one of these music themes down here?
Oh, you might have. Yeah, you might have clicked on that.
Maybe. But I wasn't nowhere near it.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's
Voices of Terminus learns how to use the internet.
Look how fast he grasped the concept.
But they'll be adding a lot more screenshots, and they'll be adding screenshots and obviously their podcasts, additional music as they move along and progress. You can see the latest videos that they have in there, screenshots. Screenshots, I would have expected to see some of the older ones in there as well.
It would have been nice, or at least to have a video to show the progression.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that way, whenever someone starts running their mouth and be like, well, go look at this.
And then you've got the forums, basically, that are still also a work in progress, so they're not finished. They have given it a update in the skins and everything, but these are not the final forums, and they're still working on getting those in, so that's something they'll still be working on. So that's going to be like phase 2 or 3 or something like that, basically.
Still looks better. I mean, it doesn't look like PHP BB anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then you've got your news portion as well.
Still uses PHP BB.
Hey, there's still people out there. I don't use that. What?
There, Kat is saying that Lex and everybody else is kind of low.
I've turned them back up. Okay, there you go.
That's just Yarn trying.
That's me just missing. Yeah, that's me take the show. Right, so let's go and have a look at some of the screenshots from the. So I basically took out some screenshots from the stream to look at. So
whoa!
That's the new login screen.
Oh, for a minute there, I thought you had it up. I was just like, oh.
And let me show you the game.
Let me show you the game. Yeah, here we go.
You can accidentally log in.
We run it password.
Yeah, so I do like the new.
To be fair, does anyone really want to log in as Ronick?
No.
Good point. That's kind of an insta-death character right there.
Right.
So I do like the new concept art, the background for the login screen. It looks pretty nice. And you've got basically the character creation. That looks pretty smooth as well. So seeing the stream and looking at the character creation that they basically displayed, what do you think about it? I actually quite like the look and feel of the way it's done. Yeah.
A lot better. I mean, it's not there yet, but it's getting closer.
Yeah, I think that it can be. Just looks very static. Is that the word? And just very boring, I'd say, at this point. They need to add a bit to it, but yeah, that's just me.
It's like, I don't know. To me, I feel like you could zoom it in based upon the size of your character, so you get a better view of the character. The background is nice. Don't get me wrong. But when you're at a character select, it's all about the character. Otherwise, it would be called scene select.
Yeah.
Just me.
So this is basically how you can create. This is where they created a new character for the stream. I like the the bottom portion where you have like the race and a description of the race, and then the class that you selected.
So you like the bottom portion of the human.
Alex, that's only something you would say. Obviously,
he got nothing on me.
Obviously, you can see that there wasn't that there aren't that many options there. You can't modify the character itself, the way it looks and everything. So you got basically your name, your class, your race, the gender, and then basically the attributes. That will all be coming in most probably later. How you can modify the character. We've seen that you can already kind of like do that in previous streams that they had with previous character creation. So it's pretty straightforward, but I do like the look and feel of it. I hope that they have different backgrounds for the different races as well. Going forward.
That would make a lot more sense.
Yeah,
like if you were an ogre, an ogre wouldn't make sense to have on what looks like an elven background.
Yeah,
exactly. Have him in his own home domicile background or something like that.
It's a loading screen. I like the new the art animations on the race symbols and everything. They've kind of like
loading screens look very nice.
Yep, they've basically added in some new symbols as well. You can see that tree in different variations.
It looks great. I love the artwork.
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, in an MMO, we spend a lot of time staring at load screens, so gotta make them nice.
Yep, definitely. So, this is now from the game itself, the new revised UI. Basically,
those trees are spectacular.
They've really upped the graphical.
Hey guys, come on, play nice.
I didn't realize they're turning the game back into like a cell shaded monstrosity.
This is basically
the new 2020 MMO style. There we go.
This is the the Shakeout that they basically streamed out last week. So notes on the UI. I like the minimalistic look. There's not too much going on. It's not overwhelming you with all flashing here and there, and you've got your character button, you've got your spells at the bottom, your spell bars. You've got your different chat windows, and at the top you've got your mini menu where you can select through the different areas. So what's your thoughts on the UI, guys? Start with you, Booch.
I mean, it's what we expected. The limited action set there and all that. I'm not crazy about that. All across the top there. I'm not crazy about that. But I do prefer the cleaner look.
Yeah.
I do prefer that than having 40 hotbars all across the screen. But it does, I like the two different sizes. It's all right. It looks good.
It's definitely going to be interesting. We'll get into this in a minute with the hotbars. But Josh, what about you?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I think that. I guess they could fix that Booch by maybe having an arrow which you can click on to open up those little bars at the top there.
Yeah.
When you want to, at least. So at least you can keep it minimized while you adventure. But overall, it's giving me a lot of view of your surroundings. So that's great. That's exactly what I want. I don't want hotbars floating all over the screen and you're not being able to click where you want to. So yeah, I'm happy with it.
Lex, what's your first take on the new look, new feel of the UI
compared to the old one? It's actually starting to look like a UI. I mean, I've always been a minimalistic UI kind of guy, so that's right up my alley. It does look like you can resize boxes because in the bottom right hand side you've got the little lines that usually indicate resizability. It looks like we can move them around because I don't remember there being 3 boxes, so you can create new chat boxes around. My hotbars are usually in the bottom center of my screen anyway. As long as I can move like my personal stat window and my target windows right there, I'm happy. The only thing that I would probably need in addition to what they have already is that some chat boxes I need to have an opaque background because my eyes are just trash. If I can do that, make it a solid color and change the text or make it bigger for my old eyes, and I'm set. Don't gotta do anything else.
I'm sure those will definitely be features that will be added in.
They are pretty standard, but there are a couple games out there that don't do it because they just completely forget.
Yep. So I've pulled up the next screenshot where they show off the your character and its inventory, and they talked about the 4 different areas of your character's skills, basically skill sets, melee, and everything, which is basically next to the attributes. You can see it on the screen. I've got the mouse here, so you've got the melee bar, then you have like the defense bar, then you've got the the ranged, and your spell bar as well. So basically, and they also mention as well that all the points that you put into your attributes and everything is going to affect these different areas. So you know it's going to be something where you're going to look at it and see what affects what, and what you know, how you want to basically play your character, skill him up. So, but first initial thought on the new inventory or character window. I think it's a lot tidier compared to the other one. It's a lot more cleaner, a lot more smoother. It's a lot more easier to navigate through.
It is, but I mean, it's just an inventory screen.
Oh yeah.
I do like the fact that on the left side we have your equipment. On the right side you have your inventory, your resistance. So I'm a stat junkie, so I like that stuff. But I would have liked to see, like, again, the icons for my inventory. I would have liked to be a little bit bigger, because I'm assuming there's going to be things you have to click, things that you're going to have to keep track of, like I don't know. It looks like a pumpkin, so maybe some kind of food, And if I can't drag it to my bar, which you probably shouldn't, being a limited action set, have to drag that to a bar, which means I'm going to be constantly going into my inventory. So bigger icons would have been better for me anyway. In that way, because let's face it, whenever you can resize fonts for people who have bad eyesight, you can't do it for your icons, like the stack number. You can't do that. No matter who you are, you've never been able to do it. So every time I open up my inventory, I'm either going to have to make sure the items are in a certain order so that I know exactly where it's at, or my face is going to be 2 inches from my screen going, Jesus, what is that?
Yeah.
So I probably would have made the inventory a little larger, the grid larger. I would have put, the resistances above it. I would have put that below there. I would have made those smaller. I mean, it's all nitpicky little things, and it's only because for me, like with my eyesight, it's something that really is a handicap at this point.
It's definitely not designed for people with problems with the eyes or wearing glasses. I'm exactly in the same boat as you. It's going to be very hard for me to identify certain things. How many do I have? If there's numbers on stacks and everything, if we have that, will you be able to see that number? Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I just hope that they can increase the size of it, that you can just do similar as you do your main chat bars and your combat bars, just open it so its size is bigger. I doubt they'll do that, allow you to do that though, but it would be nice. And I know that's the problem.
Like you can still keep it nice and tidy. I mean, I know they're going for everything about your character on one screen. I get that.
Yeah.
But when you start putting more and more stuff in there, yes, it's convenient that it's all there, but it's also you're scrunching everything together. Like the stats. You could have put the stats in a tab, and then put resistances on the other tab, and then look how much room you'd have.
Yeah.
You could put the currencies along the bottom of the entire window. You know, and there's even more room.
Yeah.
I just find that you have 8 attributes. It's like, okay, it's normally there's 6 in most games, so they've got an extra 2.
Yeah, because I do remember
and dexterity,
constitution and a stamina.
I've got agility and dexterity.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So those are the same, surely. Well, not the same, obviously, but
something else.
Yeah.
In this case, but with that, in that respect, I think it's actually nice that they're actually trying to do something a little different that's not industry standard.
It'll be good, but it's just curious as to how it's going to affect the game. They've obviously,
Go on, Booch.
Yep.
I was going to say that I think the left side of that you could pretty much leave it the way it is. To me, it seems good because everything's pretty straightforward. But I think the whole right side of that window, if you tabbed all that information and made each tab open up that whole other right side, it'd be a lot better. In other words, you have a tab for your everything that's in your inventory. You click that, it shows all that whole side is all your boxes. And then you have the same thing, one's for stats, and the whole side of the page opens up with all your stats. That way you don't have to scrunch it all together like that.
Yeah,
and then you can get away with a little bit of larger text. And
right.
I wouldn't be 3 inches from my monitor going, oh God, I still can't read it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so there's a lot they can do basically with it, and we don't know how far in they are. I mean, it doesn't.
We don't know if this is the final state.
It doesn't. For me, it's still in need of polish. It's better, but it looks like it's still being polished out. But I do like the fact that you can tab through the different stances, if you will, like your melee, your defense, your ranged, and spells.
Nice.
It's a nice little thing to see there, basically how it's affected individually. So when you put on an armor piece or change out a weapon or whatever, you can actually go and see how it affects the individual portion. I don't know how, if in general, like, if you put on an item that's gonna, if it affects your melee and defense, it would be nice to see also how both are affected on the fly, rather than just having to, switch through it, because you're going to be switching out gear, and that could also cause some irritations when you're trying to figure out what is the best item to put on right now. If you have to switch through it, you might miss a number or something like that, or have to go back, switch it around again. It would be nice to have like a general overview if something like that is going to happen, where an item can affect your defense, your melee, and your range, for instance.
Yeah, I definitely think that if this was something that I was the guy heading it up, I would take that top portion that has the stats, make that tab, put the resistances on another tab, put the currencies on the bottom. You've got almost double the amount of space for the inventory, which means you can experiment with different layouts for it, or you can just make it larger. You'll have room to make the text larger for your stats. You'll still be able to swap over and put on gear or swap stances and still see the statistic changes. And you won't lose any functionality. You'll just gain a little bit more in the way of us blind idiots being able to actually do stuff without taking 40 minutes.
Yeah.
I can see. Sorry, that you can hover over the items and it gives you a little bit of a breakdown as to what they are.
Yeah.
I hope they're doing the same thing for the strength, the stamina, your spell power, and all those things that are going to add some identification as to how they're going to affect your play.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah, so next one was where they basically he started off with like a spell inside his inventory that he had to learn, and they've kept the defensive tab window, so I like that. I did like that in the previous versions as well. So you got the still got the defensive window on the left here, where my mouse is next to Ronick, basically his name tag here. So this is the your spell book by the looks of it. Spells that you've learnt.
Is it just me, or does that not look like what they showed us last time?
Nothing at all, right?
Nothing.
I thought it was me. I'm like, wait a minute, what happened to the other one?
Yeah, they had a different layout.
I mean, this book here. I mean, the other one it was a little brighter. A lot of people were angry that it didn't fit the theme, but the thing is, it was interesting.
Yeah.
This one is bland and boring.
That's
I don't know why it's there. I'm hoping it's just a gray box, like a placeholder, because
I hope so as well.
I
will fall asleep trying to find my ability.
Yeah, I was kind of like shocked to see this one. Now, I don't know, because I thought maybe this is the spell book and there's a separate book for your mastery. what they were talking about with your upgrades and everything, but you have a tab down there, so maybe they've changed it, which would be disappointing, because the other one that they had was like you said, it wasn't really on theme to the whole Pantheon look and feel, but it was something different. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you could tone the colors down and bring it more to the theme, and you would still have something that's visually interesting and engaging. This is just a boring gray blob.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
Yeah. That's cringe-worthy right there.
Yep.
I'm sorry.
But again, it could also still be in the process of being finalized. It's something that they put out there for the Shakeout.
I'm hoping it's a placeholder, because if that's what's there at launch, I swear to God, I'll never be able to play a caster. Ever. Just because I will fall asleep trying to find my ability.
Yep. So here's some shots of him basically speaking to the NPC, and the first NPC
trees, man.
Hey, leave those trees alone, okay? I'm just showing off some of the screenshots.
Ground. Classy stuff.
So it looks like they've gone away from the original sense of you having to type into the chat when you wanted to go and hail a PC and give him an answer. It was kind of interesting. I would have kind of liked to have seen that still be a thing in some form and fashion, where you have to choose a word or something like that, at least in dialogue. Obviously now this doesn't look like a quest, but I hope that at some point, I'm just going to flick through some of these pictures where they talk about climbing. I'll see if I can find an image of him getting a quest. There we go. So I still hope. So this is one where you can basically, looks like he's getting a quest from Bonnie Chapman. So they've gone away from that. They've gone away from that. Typing into chat and then giving the right response. But I still kind of miss that. At least having highlighted words to kind of bring that dialogue along. I don't know if that's still going to be a thing further down the road or for certain quests, where you had highlighted words where you have to choose the word and everything, because that kind of made it interesting.
I do recall, on a stream that they did have a multiple choice one.
On a perception,
that was the perception,
wasn't it?
Yeah, that's the perception one. Yeah.
So if it's on the perception dialogue, it should be be able to be put on a quest dialogue as well.
Right. I would hope so, because if not, if they don't do that, how are they going to have that option with the perceptions where you can do one way or the other?
Well, it's theoretically, aren't they just the same thing? Perception is just a quest. It just happens to be a trigger that you do through other means rather than just clicking on an NPC.
Right.
So I don't see any reason why there shouldn't be.
So I'm going to quickly go back to one shot here. So this is basically a complete revamp of Thronefast, right? Or the outskirts of Thronefast, etc. But this does look familiar.
There was a lot of grey boxing last time we saw it.
No, I want about this town area that I've got up on the screen now. Wasn't that the town where basically they trained that named encounter in their first stream that they did back in the day?
Yes, we have to do with that ghost.
Yeah, that ghost coming through. It looks almost like that town anyway. It looked very familiar. I'll say that.
He says the name of the town because that's when Joppa goes up to the guard one-shots him.
It's Avalia, I think is what the town was called. So another interesting one as well, what they mentioned was something they're playing around with. And this is something definitely, talk-worthy. is they talked about these essences or something like that. Basically, where you would gather essences and you would turn those in for spell upgrades. So what's your thought on that idea?
I don't like it.
Why not?
It's too, like, you're turning everybody into a farmer at this point. I mean, let's just assume that they're not bound to you and they can be tradable. Well, that means now there's going to be flooding the markets with them, especially if there's multiple tiers of them. And there is going to be a point where you either have to spend money in an auction house or whatever, or you're just going to have to go around farming lower level things until you get these drops so that you can actually get an ability.
Mm.
It doesn't make. I would have much rather seen, like, I mean, earlier they were talking about like scrolls from bosses or something like that. I mean, that would have been cool.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas, like, a warrior could go to a trainer to learn how to do a whirlwind maneuver. I mean, that would make sense to me. Rather than like, oh, I've got to find this rock on this bat so that this guy will give me something. It's like, where's the connection? Because
where's the logic?
It's just kind of like you walking into a grocery store, handing someone marbles, and be like, "Hey, I'm going to take my groceries now."
The thing is, right? You know, I'm all for trying out something new, but I see it time and time again. I see it time and time again that it's one direction. It's linear. You know, why do all the classes have to have the same path of obtaining abilities? Why can't it be different?
There's too much work to do it for every class.
No, but why can't it be different for the archetypes, like your melee, your ranged, your heals, and your support? You know, have 4 different paths or 4 different ways to obtain spells. Like, because it does make sense for somebody with melee to have to go to class trainers and learn how to, you know, the new broadsword bash or the kick or whatever. You know, to learn that.
It would even make sense to find manuals in dungeons that describe maneuvers. And then you would have to take it to someone, and then it would be a process, like a mini quest on learning that. That would be way more involved. That would just bring you right into the character. You would actually feel attached to that ability, even if it was the most garbage ability there was. You'd be like, I earned this.
Yeah.
So even though it's garbage, I'm still going to use it.
I mean, adding in as an additional means, something like a currency, here and there for certain abilities, I'm fine with. I'll be honest, I'm fine with it.
Grind.
You know, but not something that is mainstream.
I enjoyed what EverQuest 2 did, where you had your
get the ability
books.
and you find upgrades.
Yeah, you got those mastery books that you could trade, but they were extremely rare drops, and you could benefit from them, you know, as a guild and as an individual.
Yeah, you went basically from journeyman all the way to adept to master, basically. Yeah.
But having these things drop and being commonplace.
Well, isn't that the mastery system in itself something similar? Where you put your points into it, so it becomes a stronger spell, and
that goes away from it.
So that's the thing, though. Like with these essence things, is it just to get the ability? Is it to upgrade the mastery of it? Because there's a huge disconnect with this whole idea. You know, it's like, well, if I need to gather essence to learn an ability, why do I need this essence? Right. Now, if it's the other way around, it's like, oh, it's an essence so that you can master it. It's like, okay, so using it doesn't allow me to become a master of it. It's just there's too many things that if you even sit down for a minute to think about, it leaves you with more questions than answers.
And the worst part about it is there's absolutely nothing original about that system.
No.
You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know if you remember when EQ came out with those rank 2 and rank 3 spells. You know, you'd go to your trainer, you'd buy your vanilla heal or whatever it was for that level, and then you'd find on a mob, you'd find the rank 2, and then you'd find the rank 3, but all it was a little bit improved version of the vanilla spell. So that kind of goes away with that kind of goes off on a tangent to what they were trying to achieve with the upgrading your spells, because it's going to end up being everybody's going to have the same stuff. You know what I mean? I'm going to go, oh, you have rank 2? Oh, I have rank 2 too. You know what I mean? Whereas, you know, if it's different.
It's extremely
here's
boring.
The thing, okay, we've spent more than 4 years at this point covering Pantheon. You know, we're all very hopeful. We've been putting out fires every time something stupid happens. But if this is an indication of the future, I have to sit and wonder, because you're now taking things that, you know, back at a couple, like, say, we'll just say 2 years ago, they were coming out with very interesting ideas. Maybe they weren't fully unique, but they were still twists that made you go, huh, I'm curious to see how that will work. To something where we've seen it before, we know how it works, we know how it's going to play out. Why the hell did you waste our time?
Right.
So please, for the love of God, whoever is running the show now, just please, brain power on.
Well, the thing is, you know, we don't know, you know, if there's a disconnect now, if they basically, since, you know, where they showed off the spell book, you know, that big spell with the mastery system, and that one of their streams a few months ago, we don't know if that's still a part of it, or if it's been completely revamped again. We do not know that yet.
Right. And that's another problem, though. I mean, they're showing off stuff that doesn't correlate to what they've showed us before, with no context. When you do that, what's going to happen? Everyone assumes the worst. It's human nature. You should know by now. So why not head it off of the past? Realize that this is different. Let's explain why. Even if it's just 30 seconds or even just 20 seconds, one single sentence is all it takes.
Right.
It's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm very thankful that they're showing us these pictures. I really, really am. But for the love of God, I'm trying to look out for you guys here, VR.
Yeah.
Think about what you're doing.
Yeah, like best case scenario, these essences, for example, tie into that mastery system where, like, for example, you're a shaman, you have a dot, you get X essence that you add to that dot spell, that, you know, it changes the spell entirely, where at the end of the dot, the mob is silenced for 5 seconds. And that's what that particular essence does. Then you want to go find, you know, and you just randomly find these things. You don't go, okay, this mob drops this essence, and I have to get it because I want to get that little, you know what I mean? It'd be cool if you just find this thing and go, holy shit, this will make my spell do this. And you had no idea what it was going to do.
Right.
Well, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Yeah, using your example of a shaman is a spiritual character. Essence links you mentally to thinking spiritual, so it would make a lot of sense.
Exactly. Right.
But how would a warrior gathering essence mean anything to him?
It would have to be, it would have to be something entirely different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Right.
And I don't, everyone that's watching or listening to this later, I mean, I'm not trying to be a naysayer here. This is one of these things where if we don't say this, then VR could hit road bumps. They could be making huge mistakes. And that's not to say that we know best, because hell no, we don't. But we have to say what bugs us so that they can look at it again and go, huh, maybe we did miss something. Maybe we didn't do enough here, to make sure it's exactly what they want. Because if we don't, what the hell is the point of us even being here? You know, if you just sit there on your knees and praise your new god, as it were, you're not going to do anyone any good.
I mean, I'm all for, you know, having diversity along the lines of how to obtain your spells, this, that, and the other, or upgrade your spells. I'm all for that. It's just a matter of how you do it and how often you do it.
Don't be afraid to be unique.
One thing that did bug me, like in EverQuest 2, was the currency, right? And at the moment, this is a additional currency. It's a token or a essence of something that you go gather. And that's one thing that just really teed me off was you had, by the time you were level 100, there were at least 60 different currencies out in EverQuest 2.
Right.
Because every tier, every expansion, they added all those different alternate currencies from the raid zones or from doing signature quests or certain quests. You would get tokens, and it just bugged the hell out of me because the problem was you couldn't trade in these tokens for higher versions when you basically went up a tier, or you couldn't downgrade them. You couldn't switch them around. So you had like 100 of one currency that was no good to you because you're like 20, you're 2 tiers above, and that currency just I could pass it on to my alt. But what if somebody doesn't play an alt? What if somebody doesn't have the time and have 20,000 different characters? What if somebody's just playing one character? It's things like that you have to be cautious of having too much currency, because if we look at the currency as well, we look at their inventory, the overview. I see bronze, silver, gold, platinum, and then the next one up.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's 5 different currencies already there.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know what that blue one is at the top.
See, one of the things that WoW did right was they basically, when they came out, it was unified down to one currency. Because even in EverQuest 1, where you had the copper, silver, gold, and platinum, how many times did anyone ever go, hey, I'm selling this for 5 gold? Never. It was always platinum. It was the de facto standard. So what was the point even having the other one? And that's where I'm afraid this is going too. It's like, why even have them? Are we ever going to actually use them?
Yeah.
It seems like unnecessary complexity.
And that was my comment about the 8 attributes. As well. That might.
And the thing is,
different take on them.
Yeah, and the thing is, with having 5 different currencies, at some point in time when the game's out for a longer period, all the currencies below platinum become useless, worthless.
Oh yes.
Because and even platinum's going to become useless. People will measure it in the highest level, like you said, Lex. They'll measure it in the highest level, and then you won't be able to buy anything more for 5 plat, or 5 gold, or 5 silver, or 5 copper. Having maybe one currency, a unique currency to the world of Terminus, might be the better way to go. So you just measure it in the amount of coin you've got.
It's one of those things where if you're going to have multiple currencies, you have to strive to actually make all of them mean something. Because if it comes down to, everyone's just going to use whatever the hell that blue one is, then why did you even waste your time making the other 4? It's like in EverQuest 1, it's just the best example that we have right now is...
Hey, maybe it's cryptocurrency, dude.
Bitcoins?
Yeah. No thanks. It's like, it seems like wasted time. It really does. I know, I believe I can't...
Don't forget they also...
That coin won't weigh anything.
Was that a thing?
That's what they said. I could be wrong, but I want to say they said it wouldn't. Because, if you do have weight associated to your coins, then no one in their right mind is going to be carrying around anything but the highest. Period. Yeah. And even if it isn't an option, the only person who's going to go pay somebody for something that they're selling in copper is someone who's doing it just to be a douche.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
That's literally the only reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, people are saying, or
Yeah.
Guy said in Thorndeep's mention basically that coin is basically going to weigh something.
Yeah, you will be encumbered. Yep.
Honestly, I would probably, if it were me, I would take that down to 3. Because for a fact no one's going to use the bottom one for the weight, period. The second one, as long as you can skew vendor values in the right direction, it can still be useful. And then you always have the top one, which is always useful regardless. And that way you've only got one that serves as, oh God, it's weighing me down. I have to do something about it. Because if they're shooting for the 2-hour time span to actually do something meaningful, the last thing you're going to want to have to do is spend 20 minutes running around taking care of your coin, throwing out all this excess weight out of the way. Or if you're out in the wilderness and, like, oh God, we were here for 30 minutes. Now I'm overweight because of all this stupid coin. So now my 2-hour session is going to be an hour going back to town and selling and an hour getting back. And then I got to log out. It's just, with all the information that we know versus what we're seeing now, there's like a huge amount of miscommunication going on somewhere. And I'm going to be frank with you guys. It scares the crap out of me.
Mm.
So here's quest log, quest journal. Pulled that up on the screen. Yeah,
boring. I hope it's a placeholder.
I'm pretty sure it is. No, I'm gonna go out and say it's a placeholder, because if you look at the world itself, it's basically, like they said, it's grey boxed. But after I don't know, was in the last stream that they did with the Amber Fate, did they have this new UI, or was it the older one?
I don't think it was this one.
Yeah,
I think it was it this one. I think it was the older one.
We'll have to basically see, because the only thing I'm kind of like missing yet, a few animations on the book, is just that little sparkle here and there.
Right.
That's the only thing that I'm basically missing. The quest log itself, there could be a lot more added to it. I don't see a means to. There's an abandoned task button there. We don't know if we can share quests. That's another one that would be interesting to know. You can, share them with your companion when he joins you up.
Yeah, that's pretty much kind of like a standard feature these days. I mean, don't get me wrong, I'm a programmer. I know that's a lot harder than saying, oh, just press a button and everyone gets a quest. I realize that, but it is standard fare these days. Because as long as the person qualifies for it, there shouldn't, and if someone else has it, there's no real harm in sharing the quest. Even though, yes, it technically is not immersive.
But the question is, though, is that something that is intended, though? Because if you remember the stream, they mentioned something about, along the lines of, the more you basically explore the world and do stuff for that area, that town, the more the NPCs open up to you, the more they react differently to you. So every time you go there, you'll have different responses. They'll talk to you differently. It might open up a dialogue. So that's another question. Will there be shareable quests?
Right. Now, if there isn't, honestly, I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
But it's one of those things where it is standard fare. They have to realize there's going to be a lot of people expecting that it's going to be there. So prepare.
Yep, and another thing as well, I don't know if there's a chance once you've completed a quest to go and look at what you've completed.
That sounds like it. I want to say maybe it would be part of the keeper.
That could be, yeah.
Thing, but again, they mostly talk about that being only for perception, so it's iffy. It'd be a stretch to say yes, I think.
Because I'm a junkie when it comes to questing. I'll do quests in every single zone that I go to. I'm a completionist. I need to complete it all, and I want to have a look and see what I've done in the past. I would be able to look back and say, oh, I've done this one. Because you could stumble upon a group of friends or a group of people, you join them for the group, and they go somewhere that you haven't been before, or they go somewhere where you've been, and you've overlooked a quest. But you might not be able to get it this time, or whatever, and you want to have to look back, see if you completed it or not. You don't know if you've done it or yet, or if you've whatever. Those are the kind of things like, it looks like there's a lot to do, a lot of minor things to talk, to think about. It's the quality of life features that,
especially when you've said that you're aiming for a 2-hour session.
Yeah.
Quality of life becomes a really big deal when you start saying 2 hours.
But you can see that the whole area, I think, like the picture of, you see thrown fast in the background there. It's hard to see, but you can see the castle walls, the back there. A screenshot.
And I'd have to agree a little bit with chat what they're saying, where I think one person said that they think there is going to be shareable quests, but not all shareable.
Yeah.
And most people in chat are saying that they'd be fine with simple tasks being shareable, but like real quests should be a little more personalized, so that it doesn't make sense to be shareable. I agree 100%, and that makes complete sense. So I hope that's what they're doing, because that's good.
Well, also, Lex, adding on to that, if they are going to be making it so that your choices matter in what quest that you receive, you're not going to exactly be able to share them very easily with other people.
And that's a hard thing to do, especially when you're like, 2-hour time frame. Your choices have to matter. It's like, ooh.
Well,
that's a tall order.
There's ways to go about it. Right? There's
it's not impossible.
There's one of the things that really bugged me back in the day was some of the EverQuest 2 quests. You had to do it individually.
Right.
There are certain items you had to gather individually. You couldn't do it. You're all on this quest, but you had to kill, instead of 10 mobs, you had to kill 50 mobs because you had 5 people in your group to get these updates. It's things like that when you look at a 2-hour session and you think about, you've got your full group and now you've got to go and slay 60, 70 of these mobs or even more to get all these updates. Some things should, automatically come hand in hand, and that's where I would compromise with the whole, if you're not going to share quests, at least share
objectives.
The objectives.
Yeah. See, I would agree with that too. Because it's one of those things where, it's, if you're going to make me run four zones over to pick the quest up, then if me and a friend are on the same quest, we should still be able to finish it at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm willing to give here, but they gotta give too, kind of deal. And it'll be interesting to see where they fall on that spectrum.
Yeah. It's definitely one of those things where, you have to look at over time. Obviously I accept certain things where you can't do that, where you have an object you have to fill up in your inventory. It's something you have to click or whatever. Do that yourself. Or go from point A to point B and deliver this bag of coin to an NPC. It shouldn't suffice that one of us has got the bag of coin and then we go over and then everybody has to do that. I understand that. There's certain fine lines between, this is ridiculously annoying, especially with the time given, to just being a royal pain in the ass. But anyway, let's go and talk about brighter things. Why?
Yes, let's be happy.
Let's be happy. Overall, though, it's definitely to see, before we move on, definitely to see this far on, the ballsy move to basically go and redesign an entire town and an area that they already had. Definitely a gutsy move, and I hope it pays out for them. It pays dividends for them and everything. Yep. I don't know how far that's going to set them back, or how far it set them back. But obviously, touching on what Joppa said back with Project Faithal, basically being the reference zone, and based on what they do there, which has all the mechanics, which we haven't seen yet in its full extent. So hopefully, that's still on par. That Project Faithal is somewhat like finished, and they can still hook up to what they said back then, meaning basically them now going in and redesigning this entire zone or city or whatever, something they can do on the fly and with pretty swift moves, because that's what they were talking about. Project Faithal was there with all the mechanics, all the glitter and shine and everything. Basically, and they said, when that's finished, we can just basically pop out zones left, right, and centre theoretically, in a good manner of speaking. So hopefully that's part of the plan and part of the course. But anyway, let's go talk about MMOs in general. So Booch, you brought this idea to me to talk about MMOs in general and why we're all fascinated by them, frustrated by them, why we love them so much, and why so many people flock to them. So, what do you think it is about MMOs that stand out towards other games?
Well, the other thing I think you never really hear when they talk about why people like a game or why people don't like a game. You never hear the perspective people have as to how they started gaming. So, because for example, when they did one of their first streams with Co-Carnage, you had people in the chat saying, "Oh, what's this? Look at the graphics in this game's awful. It's from 2005." When we all, what is 2005 graphics or whatever. When for people like us, when we're looking at that, we're like, you don't know what you're talking about, because that's not what the game's all about. But if you take it in context, for me, I'm old, so I was around before there were even video games. So the allure with me was, back when the fantasy type of game came out on the console, the game had an end. So, you could actually beat those games. So you would want to play to hear the rest of the story and then finish. But then a kid nowadays, that's person's under 30, growing up now, video games have been part of their whole life. So they're looking at this genre from a whole different perspective. You know what I mean? So everyone's basically coming at playing a game for a different reason, depending on a whole bunch of different factors. And that's really never talked about.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
You mentioned a good point there, though. Basically looking at this generation of gamers under 30. We'll go with under 30. I think that's a good age to look at. If you look at the games and
because we're all under 30, yeah.
You look at the pace of their games that they grow up with. Look at the pace of their MMOs that they grow up with. And then we look at games like Pantheon coming out. How do you think that's going to affect them? How will they perceive it? Because it's definitely a complete U-turn on what they're used to. We look at the limited spell bar, the slow action or the slow combat that we have, the slow progression that's going to be there. Exploring the world and having to look out for your environment and look out what you're doing around the corner. In these MMOs nowadays that these kids all play, it's all action combat and fast and grind and bam and bam and bam. They run through these dungeons nowadays in like 2 minutes.
Right.
No, not 2 hours. I was
going to say the risk versus reward. The reward of most games now is different than it was back in the day. You know what I'm saying? Now they want that quick fix. They want to go, let's go run in here and kill all these mobs and have all these explosions and all these lights. When we were, when we broke into playing, the reward was the grind. You know, you're developing this character, you're making a well-rounded character, so that way you can earn this gear, then you can get the next piece of gear, then you can get the next piece of gear, because it's a long fight. You know what I'm saying? So it's just it's an entirely different perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just to add on to that, I mean, you looked at the end game of the old MMOs, and that was, it was that massive dragon over there. There's no ways I'm ready to even deal with that at this point. But let me build myself up over time, and let me get a group of guys together, and we can maybe challenge it within a couple of months, type of thing. That's all lost on people these days. Everything is just like, there's that dragon, let me just take it out of this Uzi now, or this rocket launcher, because, hey, I can buy that out of the shop quickly, because that is what I just want to do and go. So, yeah, I think it's a total different mindset these days, and hopefully there's a way that we can turn back the time and get them to start thinking more along the old ways of doing MMOs.
It's something that when you look at these kids nowadays playing MMOs, it's a 30-minute job. They'll log into WoW for 5 minutes to run this dungeon, then they'll log into ESO and do a 10-minute run there, and then they'll log into Final Fantasy 14 and they'll do a 20-minute session there. And then they'll log into Terra for 20 minutes and do something there. Like, nowadays, people have like 20, 30 different MMOs on their system. I'm like, how do you have the time for all that? I'm having trouble with one MMO as it is, devoting so much time to one MMO. And these kids are jumping from one to the other to the other.
To be fair, Yarn, we're all at the age where we're having a hard time just getting dressed in the morning.
Hey, Lex, speak for yourself, all right, buddy? I get up fine.
I'm younger than you.
Huh?
I'm probably younger than you.
Yeah, but you're more kaput than me.
Yeah, I can't argue that one. I've been walking around all day like I'm a hobbling old man because my knees are killing me.
It just blows my mind that, the devotion that we put into our games. Yes, a lot of us have played a multitude of MMOs, but I'm pretty sure all of us here, we had that one MMO that we, played for an extent period of time.
My EverQuest account has 3 years played. Yeah,
your EverQuest account has 3 years played. My EverQuest 2 account has something like 3.5, 4 years played on it. Over a 12-year span and everything. So and you look at that, and then you look at it today, and what also blows my mind is when you go and list all the MMOs that are out there, I sometimes wonder, how is that even possible? Because an MMO thrives from the community, thrives from players. It's multiplayer online role-playing game. It thrives from people having to play it, and there's more. It feels like there's more MMOs out there today than there are single-player games. It's mind-blowing how many MMOs are actually out there and still running. And even these free-to-play games. It just boggles my mind. How is that possible in this day and age to sustain a game that is free and is full of cash grabs and this, that and the other? How fast these MMOs come out. Runes of Magic, is a prime example. That game was basically a WoW clone, and you could get to a certain level, I think level 20 or 25, 30 odd, and then after that, without money, you were buggered.
Me and my wife played that. We got to 50 before she had to start spending money to
50 then. Yeah. But it's one of those things, like when you look at the MMO genre, it's a shame to see a lot of developers have copied WoW and EverQuest and this, that and the other, and you talk about these clones and everything, and it's a pity for this genre that it feels like sometimes everybody can do one. Everybody can create an MMO, and it basically takes away from these.
Everyone can make them, but not many can make them right.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is though, it takes away though from these.
From the good ones.
From the good ones like Pantheon,
I mean, okay, so how many MMOs never reached development because of the way the state of MMOs are today? I know of at least 4 because I know the developers that they were planning to make MMOs, and then they kind of did their research, looked at the state of that genre, and were like, no.
Yeah.
And it's all because of all this greed and stuff. They're just like, they didn't want to do that, so there was no other way to survive, so they said they're not going to do it. Not going to say it was going to be a great game, but still. It never had the chance. But to go back to your question of why MMOs, it's a real simple answer, at least for me. Because the real world sucks. I mean, when I started playing MMOs, I was a drug addict. I was an alcoholic. When I was in Norath, I wasn't a drug addict. I wasn't an alcoholic. I wasn't lonely. I wasn't terrified someone was going to stab me while I was walking home from work. I was on even ground with everybody, and I had friends. I had people that I could count on. I had people that I could confide in when I was having a real bad day, when I was, getting the shakes because I want to go get high again. Instead of just saying, to hell with it, I'm going to go back to this shitty world and go get all messed up, I was in Norath with friends beating the shit out of goblins. Now, that's not to say I went cold turkey, because no, but it certainly helped. And even today, I still play MMOs. Why? Because the real world kind of stinks. Everywhere you look now, you're hearing about ridiculous politics, ridiculous things happening, stupid people doing stupid things to make other people angry. It's like, you deal with trolls in MMOs, but it's not headline news in an MMO. The headline news is, this guild took down this big raid mob, or your group of friends managed to get to here, or your friend got his epic. Those are the headline news. These are good things to focus on, rather than 45 million dead. We don't know why. We don't care. Just they're dead. Let's go blame some politicians.
What is it? Yeah. What is it for you, Josh? What drew you in?
Oh, it was just a brand new world back in the day. Something that was just fresh and new, and that it was just incredible to see other people running around. And the more you got into it, the more you enjoyed this world that was built up from a place of no corruption and no anything, just pure love to create something like that. And everybody thrived in these type of games. And through hard work, you could actually accomplish something, which is nothing like the world is, actually. Hard work gets you nowhere. But knowing the right... Yeah, but knowing the right people and having the right connections and being born with them, maybe a spoon in your mouth, gets you a lot more. So where things like that happen in today's world, it doesn't work the same way in MMOs, and which is great. And it really builds up a great attraction for that type of thing, for me at least.
At least old school ones, they were kind of like a great equalizer. Didn't matter if you were rich, didn't matter if you were poor, didn't matter if you had disability, didn't matter if you were an athlete. In whatever world you were in, you were the same as the guy next to you. And it literally came down to hard work and skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know what else? What else I think added to it is we grew up in a time where you had to have an imagination. Where nowadays, with take EverQuest for example. The original graphics compared to nowadays are so bad. So you had to have an imagination as to what was going on. Where nowadays in a modern MMO, they can make a cutscene and it looks like you're looking out your window.
Yeah.
So it takes all of your imagination away. So in a way, it's kind of like a detriment to these people that've never had to experience that. You never had to create that in your mind and go through while you're developing your character. That was a positive thing, really.
Another positive thing was the money as well that you saved.
Yeah.
I mean, think about going out on the weekends back in the day. Right,
Yeah.
$50, $100, no problem. That's it. That's your Friday night. Go out on a Saturday, that's another $50. Go out on a Sunday, that's $200 you just wasted on one weekend. Yeah, I got 30 days worth. 30 days worth for like $15, and I had my fun. 8 hours a day, 7 days a week.
If I told you guys how much money I used to spend getting messed up a week, you would be disgusted, because the thing is, I had a job, I still went to school. I was spending more money on getting messed up than I was actually making. But I still managed to have my own apartment. I still managed to pay my parents' bills. And my only thought is, like, whatever the hell I did when I was messed up, I'm glad I don't remember.
If you look at the relationships, though, as well, over the years, there's a lot of them. There's love-hate relationships. There's actual, guild relationships and everything. And if I look back over the years now, the 12 years that I've been, online gaming, people I met online are more reliable. I've confided more into them than I have in real life with the real life people around me, which goes to show what online gaming does. It actually does build connections. It builds bonds, and we're all miles and miles apart. But I remember all my people from online. And again, another great thing about online as well is, this might sound silly and daft and whatnot, or even mean, but when you've had that day, when it comes to the end of the day, you can just turn it all off.
Right.
But another thing about MMOs is it reveals the truth about people. If you're an arsehole, you're going to get
you're going
to get isolated. If you're a good guy that helps people, you are going to thrive in that type of community.
And
so
you can't
the truth of the world.
Yep, and you cannot hide behind an avatar. It does not work. Trust me, it doesn't work. Everybody, doesn't matter what you do, the way you speak, the way you write, etc. Those are all characteristics that you can identify. You can always tell if you can have a douchebag. Change your name. We might not find out right away, but in a couple of sessions with you, we'll know exactly who you are. We had that happen on EverQuest 2 during the beta. There was this one dude that was just being a complete and utter ass for everybody. He would go into groups, steal their loot. He would, curse the game, this, that, and the other. He got banned by, or got basically blacklisted by the entire server at the end of the day. And he came back with another character. It didn't take 2 days for us to all identify this person. You can't hide behind an avatar. It just doesn't work. You're absolutely right there, Josh.
Oh, trust me, because I know that for a fact. I still have people that knew me from my original EverQuest days, and they still hate my guts. Even though I've apologized up, left, right, center.
Hey, you're that douchebag.
They still hate my guts. No, they've told me stuff like, I still remember you, you're the guy who did this. And it's just like, yeah, sorry. Like, don't talk to me anymore. It's like, I swear, I'm clean and sober now. It's like, I don't care.
It's definitely going to be very interesting to see, though, where this genre goes over the next couple of years. We're taking, it's basically, it's coming full circle again. It's going, a lot of games are going back to the, to the roots of what it was all about. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this genre develops over the next, 4, 5, 6 years, down the road. Especially with the mainstream MMOs out there. With WoW, with Final Fantasy being very popular still to this day. But yeah, you know, MMOs.
WoW is gonna be like EverQuest. It just won't die.
I mean, MMOs in general brought the world closer together as well. I mean, I know so many people that met each other online and got married, you know, through. I mean, hey, right? Shit you not. My brother met his wife through my WoW account. My wife's sister met her husband through my guild back in the day in EverQuest 2. You know, it's so crazy how MMOs basically affect us in the real world as well. You know, people, you know, you talk to some random guy at work, or you know, it's bound to have happened to you. You've got this work colleague that you'd never really chatted with or felt comfortable with or could build a connection, but he mentions a game that you know, or a game that you play, or an MMO that he's playing, and all of a sudden you're chit chatting. You know, you got common ground. But it's definitely going to be interesting to see, you know, what Pantheon, you know, how Pantheon's going to be taken as well by the younger generation. Because it is definitely a different game. It's not something they're going to be used to.
There's going to be pros and cons. I mean, there's a lot of kids who would probably benefit from a slow down, methodical game. But there are also the kind of kids who, you know, maybe they're just dying for a little excitement. So they go for the action style ones, which is fine. You know, I think every MMO out there has something that they can teach you.
Yeah.
In some respect. I mean, I learned a lot from every single MMO I played. Yes, even the stupid ass Korean.
And another big thing about MMOs as well is the communities it builds. Right, if we look at like Pantheon now, the community we've got out there, it's massive. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that Ghost of Tsushima and The Last of Us 2 has a huge fan base, but it doesn't have a community like MMOs do, where, you know, we do tons and tons and tons of talk shows out there. You've got people, you know, left, right, and centre doing talk shows and chatting about the game and doing this. Yes, you've got people on YouTube doing videos, you know, I'm excited, these are the top 5 single-player games I'm excited for 2021, blah, 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 blah. But you don't see this kind of community building in single-player games that we have with MMOs, which is another major factor.
No, that's true.
Yep.
But that's what happens when you bring other people into the equation.
Anyway, we've been rambling on for almost 1.5 hours. We made it! 1.5 hours!
Standard VOT fare.
We did?
Yep. And apart from the slight, where did the music come from? You know, it's not a VOT. It's not
how to use PC. It's understandable.
Yeah, it's not a VOT show without any kind of hiccup, is it? You know, at the end of the day, the stream being stable, that's the most important thing.
You know what they say? Shit happens.
Yep.
But even more so when you're on the VOT show.
But again, Booch, it was great having you on.
It's always a pleasure.
Just to inform everybody again, the VOT show will only be showing once a month from now on a fixed schedule.
Lucky.
Yep. We will be doing random, you know, player Q&As here and there, because that's obviously dependent on, you know, availability for everybody, you know, on that given day. It could happen that we do a player Q&A instead of our normal show on the first Saturday of every month. But you know, the player Q&As will happen randomly. Community shows, this, that, and the other. Gaming sessions we'll do here and there. There's no fixed date. We'll basically put out the information on Twitter, on our Discord, if we have something planned, you know, so that everybody knows when it's going to happen. But expect the VOT show though every first Saturday of every month is when we will be doing this. Obviously, for the reasons it being basically, we've talked about everything else that we could possibly talk about, and with the game heading towards pre-alpha 5, and the way it's basically developing, it's a slow going process. So there's no point in us putting on a show just because. It makes no sense for us to do that. We will be revisiting previous shows that we've done, like class shows, once all the information is basically there. And revisiting that, talking about the classes, maybe some racial updates. Once information's out there and we can do something, we'll be doing that. We're also looking into having additional people do the VOT shows as well, or do a kind of VOT show. Not necessarily on a Saturday, not necessarily on the
spin-off show.
A spin-off show, exactly. We're getting spin-offs. That's how far we've evolved. People are sick and tired of us. So now the spin-off's going to become the number one show.
Joni loves Chachi.
Yarny loves Chachi.
Yeah, that was one of the best shows ever.
Yep. Anyway, thanks for hanging out, everybody, and it's good to be back. Even though it didn't sound like we were happy to be back with all the bitching and moaning Lexa did here.
Hey, you knew what you were getting into when you got into this relationship.
You're just upset that you're not getting paid.
That too.
Can't blame him. I'm not getting paid.
I'm here giving away great advice for free.
Yep. Anyway, we will all see you next month. We'll see you then, or possibly sooner. Who knows? Have a great weekend and stay tuned.
Take it easy.
Take care.
Yay,
Have a great weekend.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.